Max is the host of 70 Over 70, which I checked out. It is a great podcast. It's really fun. If you want to give people maybe a little introduction to what the concept is.
Yeah, so it's a pretty simple show. I am talking to 70 remarkable people, all of them over the age of 70, and not just sort of like a walk down memory lane and talking about their greatest hits and all their accomplishments, but about what it's like to be them right now and this stage of their lives and sort of what they've learned and what they haven't learned and what they're hoping to learn. And it's not really about dying, but it's about what it means to like live well, and it has been it's been a blast. It was a really meaningful way to spend quarantine for me. My parents are getting older. My dad's 80. He had a health scare during the pandemic, and there's just been something pretty powerful for me about getting to have these conversations.
I listened to your Norman Lear interview, and one thing that I thought was so beautiful, and it was twofold. I'll say this part and then circle back. I thought the relationship that you have with your father is very beautiful and it's very palatable, and it comes through, through the podcast. More specifically, go back, because I'm getting ahead of myself. There's so many questions in my head. Start with Norman Lear. So when you asked Norman Lear, does he have a fear of dying?
Yeah.
And he was like, no. And you're like, why? And he's like, well, because no one's ever come back to tell me that
I haven't gotten any bad reviews.
there's something that, that I should be afraid of. And I thought it was so, like, we fear things that we have no experience about, and when we're gone, we're gone.
That moment is I'm so glad you brought it up, because there's been so much about doing the show that's been surprising and inspiring. But I think, like, truly the most surprising thing is I've asked basically everyone that question, which is like, are you scared of dying? Which is a pretty intense question to ask people. It's one of like the great, like, sort of, it feels like a little bit of a scam about podcasting to me. It's like, if I met Norman Lear in any other context and was like, so Norman, scared of dying? Like, that's so socially inappropriate, Yeah. But in this context, because there's microphones, like, it's kind of okay. So I've asked a lot of people that question, and the thing that's been surprising is the degree to which, like, not only do people say that they're not, but they answer that question, like, joyously, and people have different reasons why and different answers to it and different ways they think about it. But it's not only, like, not fear, they're excited. I found that to be really eye-opening, which is just like that it's not just coming to terms with that, but that there's something on the other side where you can, on the other side of being scared, there's actually like an openness rather than just like having that removed.
But it kind of feels like they've also found peace here, right? Like they've found a way to make heaven on earth here.
Yeah, I think that's right. I mean, the other theme that comes up again and again in these conversations, and one of the things that I love about the show is that people articulate the same ideas in really different ways. So, like, people have different metaphors. I talked to this woman named Sister Helen Prejean, who her whole metaphor for this was about the river and being in the flow. But what it's about is, like, being present, And I think once you stop worrying about what you can't control, it allows you to be here in a different way, And this might be like a little existential for Podsauce, but
we're deep.
I'm really interested in how you arrive at that place. And again, it feels like very far off to me, but being able to go and have these conversations and get some insight into how other people have arrived there, not just how they got there, but what it actually feels like. I don't know, it's been like very helpful for me, at least.
What is one bit of advice that you've gotten from someone while doing your podcast that to you just rang so true?
First episode was with this woman, Sister Helen Prejean, who's dedicated her life to ending the death penalty in America. She's worked with 6 different inmates on death row. She's like the woman from Dead Man Walking. That's like who she is. And, I basically can't imagine work that's more intense than that, right? And she was able to talk about holding lots of things at once. And so being able to do that work, but also being able to like drink a beer with her friends. She was hilarious in this interview. Like, she's a good hang, you know, and also she has dedicated her life to ending the death penalty, and she works with people, some of whom are wrongfully incarcerated, who are going to be put to death by the state. You know, like, to be able to do both those things at once, we talked a lot about it, just kept asking basically, like, how do you do that? How do you do both of those things? And her answer was about being present, and it's what you're talking about, which is like, you don't figure everything out. You don't decide that you've got it all nailed, that you've learned everything, that there's no answers yet to find. You just keep looking and searching, and I found that idea really freeing, because I think I am wired, was wired, whatever, to like think that there was some like line, and then you got to the line, and then you had it all figured out, and after that was like coasting time, you know? And turns out that's not how it works, I don't think.
And for people that don't know, you're not just the host of 70 Over 70. You're also the co-founder of Pineapple Street Studios, which is a very successful studio and part of the Odyssey Odyssey family.
I'm trying to find this quote that he did. Sorry, go ahead.
No, so you know, listen, we discovering podcasts here.
Yeah.
You co-founding a studio. What kind of podcast can you recommend, or what are you listening to that you think people should really check out?
This is always such an exposing question, because I feel like I listen mostly to things that we're working on as drafts. Like, it's very hard for me to find time.
And that's okay. If you think it's amazing and that you think it's a great piece of work,
listen, you should listen to every Pineapple show. That's just like full stop. Listen to every single one.
Let's just start there.
We have we've got all kinds of great stuff. I mean, I know that you guys talked to Nina Gilden-Seavey, who did My Fugitive. We did a series earlier this year called Stay Away from Matthew McGill, by a guy named Eric Mennel that I loved. We did a really fun show called Welcome to Your Fantasy that was about Chippendales, the very sordid history of Chippendales.
The dancers?
That's right, yeah.
Spectacular. What's the name of that?
It's called Welcome to Your Fantasy.
Yeah, it is.
It's super fun. It's like got all of the energy that you are currently bringing.
Here for it.
And also, it involves like a crazy murder story.
Murder most foul?
You've hit off all the check boxes for Alicia.
Yep, Alicia, that's the one for you. Welcome to Your Fantasy.
I'm right up that alley.
You need a pen to write that one down?
I do, thank you.
But you know, I mean, I try and listen to lots of stuff, and then I think also like my habits as a podcast listener are pretty similar to lots of people, which is like I try lots of new things. You know, I love like limited run series. A very good friend of mine named Aaron Lammer just did this series called Exit Scam, which is about a crazy like cryptocurrency death faking, hundreds of millions of dollars stolen situation.
Spectacular.
Check that out, Exit Scam.
Right.
But then I also like still listen to some of the podcasts that I've been listening to for like 10 years, and they're just like comfort food. Like I listen to like a lot of like NBA podcasts.
Seth Curry's mom has a really good one, Raising Fame.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Like, and I've just been listening to those shows for years and years, and like they're kind of like white noise to me now. You know, like I listen to them when I'm on a run and stuff.
This podcast is actually a very beautiful podcast, and I would definitely recommend people checking out. You can check out 70 Over 70 on the Odyssey app. You can also obviously head on over to podsauce.com. We'll have a link for you there. Max.
It's also super funny and lighthearted and like not at all heavy. It's a good time.
Leave
it's
your
raucous.
Kleenex at home. Don't bring it.
No, thank you for coming in. Thank you for being with us today. And you know, I can't tell you enough. I really do appreciate your podcast, because
thanks, man.
My eyes have been opened over the last couple of years, and I think this podcast is a good example of, you know, getting those gems out of people essentially before they're gone, you know, because you might not get that gem then.
Max, you're going places, kid.
Hey, you know what?
You're
That
going
means
places.
a lot. That means a lot.